Thank you all for being here. It is amazing to see so many faces in the place for this summit. I'm Angela Lang from Tony Fay Public Relations, and we're thrilled to support our partners at the Dallas Sports Commission and SMU Sports Management for the Global Sports Business Summit today. Thank you for being here for this inaugural event. I just have to give it up for this crowd. Great turnout, and we're really excited for the full day of learning and networking ahead of us. We have an incredible lineup of panelists and moderators, and I will be your host for today. I'd like to kick things off by bringing up to the podium Peter Carton, SMU Director of Sports Management. Peter, please come up.
Thanks, Angela. Welcome, everybody. On a personal note, I couldn't be more happy to have you all here. Thank you for taking time out of your day to be here. I see a lot of familiar faces. I see the panels, first panels getting ready to come in. But I do have just a couple of prepared remarks. This is our inaugural 2025 Global Sports Business Summit. It's presented by SMU and the Sport Management Department in the Simmons School of Education and Human Development, together with Monica and her team at the Dallas Sports Commission. Welcome to this beautiful campus. We've got a great day here. If we waited one more day, we might be coming in the rain, but appreciate what happened with the weather. Before we dive in, I want to take a moment to recognize and thank an SMU individual who has really made this and our continued progress possible. And that is Dean Stephanie Knight of the Annette Caldwell Simmons School of Education and Human Development. Stephanie is here with us. Stephanie, I'd like you to stand up and just be recognized from everybody here. It's really been through Stephanie's vision and her commitment to our program, our department, that we're able to do things like this. So, Stephanie, thank you. Stephanie's going on to a new phase of her life and her career, but we wish you the best with everything. So thank you for being here. To our distinguished faculty, dedicated staff, and valued guests, thank you for being here and for your continued contributions to the advancement of sport management and leadership. A special thank you as well to our incredible undergraduate and graduate students. I've recognized a bunch of you that are here. A lot of the undergrads are actually working throughout the day. And finally, a special thank you to our summit partners, led by incredible Monica Paul and her amazing team at the Dallas Sports Commission. Your partnership and commitment to the growth of sport in our city and the region truly makes a difference. So, Monica, thank you so much. I'd like to welcome you up.
Thank you, Peter. Wow, is all I have to say here. This is worth it, just getting this many key leaders from the sports industry in the room once a year. The energy out there was amazing. Some of you I've been meaning to connect with for quite some time. So thank you for joining us on this inaugural event. It is something that we've been wanting to do for a very long time, and something that we hope to be able to continue to do on an annual basis. Just maybe it's 2 years ago, Dallas was named #1 sports business city, and that is in large part because of everyone in this room, from our professional teams to our leagues, to our corporations, to our agencies, universities, conferences, you name it, infrastructure that cities have put in from a sports standpoint. So really want to be able to celebrate that today, and even got to see some of my former students that were here at SMU, I think, are in the room today. So glad that they're able to join, and I will say to the students that are here, because that was partly the reason why we wanted to do this summit, not to only bring together our leaders from a sports business standpoint from the region, but to give these students the opportunity to engage and learn and further their career. So students, this is the cream of the crop in sports business here in this room, so take advantage of it. You have all day with these people here. So also want to extend a great thanks to those who have provided a few items that you'll be getting on the way out. Arlington Grand Prix, the Dallas Cowboys, Dallas Mavericks, Dallas Stars, Dallas Trinity FC, FC Dallas, North Texas FIFA World Cup Organizing Committee, Texas Rangers, and Visit Dallas. So again, thank you, and I'm going to turn it back over to Angela to get our first panel started.
Thank you, Monica. So we are ready to jump into the panels now, but before we do, I'd like to make you aware of a couple of things. We do have a QR code that you can find in the program where you can submit questions. Those questions will be submitted to the moderator and answered at the end, the last 10 minutes of the panel, if time permits. And we do have some incredible panelists, and know that there will be a desire to ask questions after the panels are done. We would ask that you take those conversations into the hallway. My job today is to keep things on time. So whenever they are done, they will go out into the hallway if you have any additional one-on-one questions that you'd like to ask, and then we'll get the next panel here and rolling. So with that, I'd like to welcome the panelists for our first panel to the stage. This is Streaming Wars in Sports Media, the Future of Digital Fan Engagement. The panel will explore how the rise of streaming platforms has transformed live sports consumption and fan engagement. Our panelists will discuss the latest interactive innovations, the complexities of negotiating streaming rights, and how organizations tailor strategies for international markets and evolving viewer habits. And I'm pleased to turn it over to my friend Gina Miller, Vice President, Broadcasting, Communications, and Media of FC Dallas.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. It's so good to see all of you here today. You know, I was lost on the SMU campus trying to figure out where to go. And I heard the energy from the room, underscoring Monica's point from the room out there. Incredible energy this morning. This is Streaming Wars, Sports Media, and the Future of Fan Engagement. I guess I'm sitting over here. We're just going to move right over here. And we are gathering really at an incredibly pivotal time here in North Texas and in the industry in and of itself. You think about this landscape in the streaming space, and nowhere is it more magnified here than right here in Dallas-Fort Worth. The last couple of years, we've watched the Texas Rangers roll out Victory Plus, the Dallas Stars. The Texas Rangers launched their own network, I should say. The Dallas Stars launched Victory Plus, giving fans unprecedented access to game broadcasts and original programming. The Mavericks answered with Mavs TV, their direct-to-consumer streaming service that bundles live games, team content, and premium behind-the-scenes features all in one place. Meanwhile, traditional broadcasters like WFAA, KFAA continue to innovate along these digital platforms, and then FC Dallas has taken all of its matches and content to MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. These moves represent a truly seismic shift in how teams are reshaping their broadcast platforms. Leagues and media companies are thinking about rights, distribution, and most importantly, how fans experience the games and players they love. So we're exploring how do we balance direct-to-consumer ambitions with scale and reach of established distributors, what new technologies and business models will keep fans hooked and deliver real value to rights holders and advertisers, and how can these mid-market clubs perhaps harness these trends without the resources of the NBA or MLS giants. We are going to hear from incredible experts here. Ronnie Fauss is currently in his 26th season with the Dallas Mavericks, serving as the Senior Vice President of Business Development. He oversees the club's media rights distribution strategy, DTC streaming platform development, facilities development, and strategic relationships. Neil Gruninger is the co-founder of APMC, a parent media company which operates Cadoodle TV and Victory Plus. Since launching in 2024, Victory Plus now streams the Dallas Stars, Anaheim Ducks, Texas Rangers, and several other sports. And then Spencer Markby is the Senior Director of Corporate Strategy at Endeavor Streaming, advising clients on the global direct-to-consumer ecosystem, has extensive experience in developing DTC strategies, building financial models for sports and media properties around the world, while supporting and advising clients on how to optimize media rights in the ever-changing media landscape. Gentlemen, thank you. Thank you for being here. So let's kick it off for a question for all three of you. And we know this landscape is evolving at just the fastest of fastest paces. The last 5 years have seen an incredible explosion of streaming options, shifting fan expectations as well. From your collective vantage points, and we'll start with you, Spencer, and then just go down the list here. What is the single biggest change in how fans consume live sports today?
Well, thank you for that introduction. And one other thing I just want to call out, I did graduate from here in 2014. So I am an SMU native, back in Dallas, moved back here a couple months ago. So very happy to be back in town. As it relates to your question, I would say the biggest change over the last 5 years is really the bifurcation of viewing availability for your favorite teams. So it used to be that it was just on your local broadcast network and you'd have your national rights package. Nowadays, you have your streaming packages. You can watch some of the games on local rights as well, like the Mavs do. You also have multiple different streaming options. So your Amazons, your ESPN Pluses of the world, Apple TV, all these different places make it really difficult for the consumer to actually find the games that they want to watch. So I think that has been the biggest change. And looking forward, that's also kind of something that has to make it a better fan experience going forward.
It's you.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. Speaking of 2014, we launched Cadoodle TV in 2014, so I've been in this streaming wars, per se, for quite some time now. I think for me, when Disney Plus came out in 2019, I'm in the kids and family space, so we trademarked safe streaming early days and started noticing the viewing habits changing at a rapid rate. We got into the kids and family space to understand the viewing habits of young families. They're early adopters of technology. I typically say, the kids in your home are the CTOs of the family, and so they can gain access however they want, and they typically have through streaming products in the market. Piracy is a thing, and so for us, we learned that Disney Plus and a lot of great streaming platforms coming into the market actually enhance the app ecosystem. Our shareholders at that time were a little bit worried, thinking that Cadoodle TV would be potentially, again, they would come in to eat our lunch per se, but what happened was more people were streaming. More people were consuming products and content through the streaming ecosystem. And today I feel sports are transitioning into that, and why it's super important that we give as much accessibility through streaming products online, through Victory Plus. Again, piracy is a thing, and a lot of the clubs right now don't have the visibility of what's happening in those ecosystems, and they don't have control over what brands are a part of that. So we're seeing an incredible growth rate of younger audiences using Victory Plus because of the accessibility and going free, and something that we really attain to moving forward.
All right, thank you. I would say one of the biggest things that's stood out to me and kind of keeps me up at night is not only how are younger people going to stream, but what are they going to stream. So last night, for example, I spent the last 4 days in Washington, D.C. as a chaperone on my son's 8th grade field trip. It was quite the time. So last night we were at Reagan Airport, and we have a nice little 3-hour delay. So we had quite the cabin fever situation going on, 95 8th graders in a terminal. And so what I did, because I know a lot of the kids are NBA fans like me, so there was what was going on. Game 1 of Cavs. Who were the Cavs playing? Pacers. And then Game 7 of Warriors Rockets, right? Prime content. I was excited for the delay, believe it or not, because it meant I got to watch the games instead of being on the plane. So I find this corner in the terminal, it's on the TV, carve out some space, starting inviting the kids over. The big NBA fans of the kids, and they weren't interested. They didn't want to watch the game. It was Knucklehead Central. The girls were giving the boys makeovers. They were having Mountain Dew chugging content. They were doing everything except watch basketball. So I'm sitting there watching the games, and when they'd run by, I'd say, "Hey, did you see whatever? Amen Thompson just went behind the back, had a reverse layup. You should have seen it." And they go, "No, we saw it." I go, "What do you mean you saw it?" "Well, we saw it." So while they're over there just running around doing whatever, they were actually keeping up with the game. They knew who was winning. They knew that Steph did not have a bucket until the last possession of the first half. They knew all this stuff. They weren't watching the games. They get push highlights. They're running around doing something. They look at their phone for 5 seconds. It registers, and then they move on. So It's just interesting to observe because a generation or two from now, when I'm gone, and they're the ones that are the consumers, they're the ones that are the fan base, will they be watching games at all? I don't know. Maybe they'll mature. God hopes they mature. And then maybe, it'll become more of a, okay, we'll turn the game on and watch it. But I don't know. I think that's a question that none of us have an answer to yet, is how that behavior will evolve.
I think the NBA has done such a great job of digital fan engagement. I mean, you really can follow a game on social media and combat Knucklehead Central a little bit, if you will. But as you have really taken control of your broadcast rights with Mav TV and the partnership with WFAA and KFAA, what's one of the coolest ways you've seen Mavs TV engage fans digitally, or at least just bring them closer to the game?
So there's a lot of TBD in that, and so
Year one, proof of concept here.
Yeah, so that's exactly what it was. Year one, we made the decision. It was actually right after Labor Day last year that we made the decision that we were going to stream, and the season was 6 weeks away. So we were in hyperdrive just to get the thing stood up. We had incredible partners with Spencer and Endeavor, which, by the way, I'll take credit for him moving back home, because about a year ago we met in New York and decided to do a deal together, and so Endeavor built out our platform. Next thing I knew, he's moving to town and coming to games, so welcome. But year one, we were very happy to self-produce. We brought production in-house within that month and a half span, proved that we could get the transmission out to our linear partners in Tegna and throughout the state, proved that we could stream it with the NBA's help, with Endeavor's help. So that's what year one was. We have a lot of cool stuff that we're working on for year two, more interactive, hopefully some gamification, ability to perhaps engage in retail while you're watching the game there within that experience. I think we're all just getting started. The Stars have probably done a lot more than we have so far. But streaming 2, 3, 5 years from now, the experience will, if we're doing our jobs, will look very different than it does now.
Neil, when we make these streaming and these broadcast deal announcements, all you see is the fanfare. You don't see how the deals are structured and the really tough negotiations that take place between a league and an entity, or a team and an entity, depending on the unique situation. Walk us through how a streaming rights deal actually gets put together and some of those steps from start to finish.
Of course. So, no one size fits all. We have multiple clubs in the Victory streaming ecosystem, but the Dallas Stars specifically had a problem to solve, and it was accessibility. And Brad Alberts and the team were looking to ensure that all fans, we would meet them where they are. Again, they have, I think, the second largest DMA, 47 million people to address in the market that they're in, and so free was the go-to-market strategy, and knowing what we can accomplish with our unique ad solution in the market, we're really focused on ensuring that we weren't leaving money on the table through advertising. Advertisers are looking for scale, and that freemium model clearly brings users and fans to the table. There's other unique ways that we're building out streaming rights and ensuring that our clubs have additional upside in other areas of our business. We're a private company, so we're unique, and we can get creative to ensure that they're not just making revenue off of the games per se. If I go too deep into that, I will probably get a call from Jimmy, and if you don't know who Jimmy is, you do not want a call from Jimmy. So I'm not going to go into depth on those deal structures, and we've seen a lot of success. I think it's ease of use. It's ensuring that fans can get access to their content, their games. Again, one of the inherent, I wouldn't say issues, but I would say viewing habits are those clips that younger audiences are watching through social, and they're missing out on the storyline. There's such an amazing production and storyline that's being put together from incredible production, and I think it's up to us to really build in this viewing habit to train, that the players need to be recognized, what they've done leading up to, being on the stage. And there's so much work that's involved in becoming that person, and we have to give them a platform in that stage. But again, we feel like we're an extension of our clubs to bring revenue, newfound revenue, audiences, and the more fans that they have, the better their business will become. And structuring deals, it comes from ad revenue sharing, ensuring that they have enough to pay their players, so we come with capital as well. And it's our vision to have multiple clubs. The more clubs that we have on Victory, everyone ends up getting the benefits of those revenues as they increase through a national spend opposed to the localized spends that are happening in the marketplace.
You can be really creative when it comes to structuring these deals, which I think is exciting, and it's challenging but exciting at the same time. So Spencer, when a Ronnie comes to you, or another team or league comes to Endeavor, what's the first thing you do to ensure that app gets up and it's running and it runs smoothly and it's a great user experience for the kids in the airport or whomever it may be, me while I'm shopping, checking in on a game?
Yeah, sure. I think Neil kind of alluded to it as well. It was, what is the end goal of the actual service itself? So with the Mavs, for example, we knew we wanted to create a premium product, which meant it was going to sit behind a paywall because those games are the number one reason people are going to come to the service, and that is a tier 1 type of content. So we have another example where we worked with the University of Texas to relaunch the Longhorn Network. So if those of you who aren't familiar, they joined the SEC, and as part of that migration to the SEC, they had to shut down Longhorn Network, which was historically carried by ESPN. They wanted to continue to use it because they continue to see strong engagement. But what did that look like? They wanted to make sure that the UT brand was available across the world. They didn't want to just be a local school. So they wanted somebody who's from Austin to have the same exact experience as somebody from Johannesburg. Mm-hmm. And so what we did for them is we put this, we made it more ad supported. So it was, to your point, more about the reach. And we work with them on figuring out, okay, this is what we need to think about from a global perspective, but then there are also instances where you have to think a little bit more regionally, just based on, do they have different languages in certain countries? So those are the types of user experiences that we work to really customize those experiences and make sure that we really reach the fans where they need to be.
Neil, I'd like to go back to kind of what we touched on in the first question with you, negotiating with a property, with a streamer. And we understand every single client is different. They have a different goal, whether it's scale or whether it's really maximizing that ad revenue or paid subscriber base, whatever it may be. When you're going into this relationship and negotiation, what is the single most important factor that makes a bid attractive to a client or a league?
Money.
At the end of the day, it's very simple.
Yeah. I think we've come from it in a digital fashion, and again, I've been in the streaming space for quite some time. Been flying under the radar in the kids and family vertical. You don't get as much attention in that space, I must admit, but ultimately, owning your own destiny is really important for our clubs, and we do share in our data to ensure that our clubs have, know who their fans are for the first time outside of, the traditional RSN model that was currently in place. So that's a key ingredient, and is knowing who your fans are and sharing in that data. And I think showcasing the results that we've currently have been able to provide our clubs is, we're jumping into it, proving up that we have a streaming technology that is world-class, and that we can produce as well. As Ronnie was saying, they took everything in-house. We didn't have that skill set, so we went out and brought in Jason Walsh to ensure that we had great product in market and production. So having an end-to-end solution to ensure, and then have the involvement of the clubs that are a little bit more leaned in and learning along the way, so all of their business line items are increasing in revenue, has really been kind of that forefront for us. It's been the formula that seems to get these forward-thinking clubs to go direct to consumer, and not only that, understanding that as we build critical mass, everyone is going to continue reaping the benefits from it. But yeah, I would say, money. Access to data is very important, and then working with the leagues as well, ensuring that the leagues are working with us through the process, where they're understanding that younger audiences are coming to the table. We've basically halved the viewing age of the Stars by half. Kind of said that backwards, but ultimately we have over 40% of our viewers on Victory Plus for the Dallas Stars specifically are Gen Z. And that's an important part, and they're sticking around. They're watching. We're gamifying the viewing experience, so there is a reason why to stick around and watch a little bit longer. We were able to create a gamification of prize giveaways. We gave over half $500,000 away to all of our fans, and we kind of started this during Christmas because we just wanted to give back for Christmas, and we saw an immediate increase in our watch time by almost 50%. We're seeing around 60 to 70 minutes on average watch time per game, and we jumped over 95 minutes per game to 105 minutes per game based on that. So it's the results are important, and money.
I just want to underscore 105 minutes. That's huge. Huge. That time on site, if you will, keeping the eyeballs engaged, that's a very, very strong number. Understanding the audience, I came from the linear TV world. That's how old I am. Spent the first 20 years of my career in linear TV, and recruit to view, getting people to the broadcast product, priority number one every single time. And in the digital space, Spencer, it's the exact same thing, but I think the tactics you can employ, maybe they're different, maybe they're same. I don't know. What are some of those recruit to view strategies and digital engagement strategies that are really effective for the Gen Z consumer or the old people like me? And now that you know your audience a little bit better because of this digital opportunity, how do you tailor it for the audience?
Sure. Yeah, there are a number of different ways we can do this. So Ronnie's kind of alluded to it, as well as Neil. You look at gamification. There's all those kind of like tricks of the trade that people are continuing to evolve within the streaming space. But another instance is, for example, like shoulder programming. So you have for the Mavs, you have live games, but then how do you continue to have people engage with the service? And a lot of that comes down to shoulder programming. Another example that we have on our platform is with the Edmonton Oilers, where they don't actually have access to their live games, but they have a number of behind-the-scenes access availability. They have press conferences. They have, get to know the players kinds of things where people are really, really interested, and they are super fans of these clubs. And so what they want is just more and more of that content. And so as you provide that shoulder programming, yes, you need your tier one stuff like the live games, for example, with the Mavs, but how do you supplement that and keep people coming back to the service? We're about to go into the off season. How do you engage with those fans throughout the off season and make sure that they're still paying customers that are engaging with the service? So those are the sorts of things that we think are really important, where you just can consistently keep reminding your fans why you want to come back to the service.
Content. I think the Oilers example is really interesting too. So Ronnie, you've gathered your fan feedback and you're using it and you're trying to maximize it to tweak the product, because we know this isn't a push and go kind of thing. You're constantly refining your product offering and your product suites. So how do you do that? Whether it's a quick survey, social media sentiment or comments, in-arena polls, what are some effective tools that you've found for iterating the product to ensure that fans are served the way they want to be served?
So if I could add on to the question about the number one factor, and then it actually plays into this. So with us, money was way up there, 1B, but 1A was the vetting of the tech. And so that probably sounds just very intuitive, but what was a real learning exercise for me and the team at the Mavs was it's incredibly intricate and complicated to pull off live streaming. And the number of companies that you have to line up to cooperate with each other and make sure that the signal gets from one to the other, to the next, to the next. I mean, it's everything from our self-production team Tegna helps run the transmission, our linear partners, to the NBA, which is involved. They're kind of the hub of everything, to Endeavor, to our ad server, to our ad seller, and then you have to add in Roku, Apple TV, and then it goes to all these different places, right? Our web developer got involved. Our mobile app developer got involved. So at the end of the day, learning the dozen or so companies that all have to pull this off for one person to be able to hit a button, watch a game, was kind of incredible, and something I'd taken for granted for years as a consumer. But we learned that during the vetting process. We started off, we talked to Endeavor and maybe a dozen other companies. This was about a 1.5-year process, and so it whittles down over time. And then we got down to 2 or 3, and then you're just looking under every rock for how they work with each of those different companies that I just mentioned. And it was an incredible learning experience, but we ended up in the spot where, we felt like we could deliver it, and we did. Downtime was 0.0%, so credit to Spencer and the team on that. But then how we got feedback was kind of old school. So kind of a lasting piece of our culture that from Mark Cuban owning the team is that email is king, right? If anyone remembers when he bought the team, he would put his email address on the Jumbotron up at Reunion Arena.
It worked for reporters too. I'd email him all the time. He'd give me on the record comments left and right. Yeah.
He would answer, he would forward to people and tell them to answer. So we did the same thing. We published an email address to fans far and wide if they have questions about how subscriptions work or how access works or anything. So we stood that up right before the season began. And as we were moving so fast, we didn't even really have much of an infrastructure. So for a good month or so, my days would end on my back porch answering every email that came in from fans, right? If Mark can do it, I can do it too. And so eventually we got some processes in place, but it was this is all about one-to-one relationship. And some of my early discussions with Neil and Brad at the Stars, that's something we all recognized was this is the next step in that digital evolution, to have that one-to-one relationship with your fans. Well, this was a painfully one-to-one relationship with your fans. I spent several games on my phone with people, like telling them how to log in just because I answered their email. So it was a very grassroots effort. And then we got a little bit more sophisticated as it went along, but no one went unanswered, and we think we got people to the right place, and it uncovered things that we needed to figure out. There were some of them that I would take, and I'd go to Spencer or the team with Endeavor, or I'd go to the league, and we would have to figure out something that didn't make it to somebody and why. And was it a user error on their end, or was it something we needed to do? And both could be the case.
I can't imagine that the telephone game of that chain didn't keep you up at night, because broadcast is so dependent on one person, one aspect being successful. And if one little thing goes wrong, the entire chain kind of falls apart. We have one last question before we open it up to your questions, which I'm really excited to hear, questions from the room here. But again, this landscape is so dynamic, and I feel like once you master something, it changes on a dime. Spencer, this is for all three of you, but we'll start with you, Spencer. Looking ahead for the next few years, what's one change in sports streaming that you're most excited about, and something that you think might surprise people?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, if there's any takeaway from this discussion, it's that streaming is very hard. It's complicated. So it's a lot of work. It is not the push of a button as we so thought it was. Ronnie, I know that we see it with all of our clients. So just putting it out there, it's not just a push of a button. But to answer your question, I think kind of going back to the first question, I think understanding what's going to happen at the local level for teams going forward is really, really interesting. Are all the local rights going to end up being controlled by the league? I know Major League Baseball is starting to push towards that model. The NBA has had discussions as well. Or are you going to continue to allow teams to have control their own rights in market? I think that is something that is going to be really telling going forward, and hopefully there's a resolution in the next 2 to 3 years. But it's beyond just the U.S. markets. So you have clubs in Europe, so soccer clubs, football clubs, where they all have had traditional linear broadcast channels, and those always address their fans in their market. What do those look like going forward? We've worked with clubs where they have a membership model where you can be a member of a fan base where you get access to tickets that also provide access to their streaming services. There are other clubs that just have a standalone streaming service. So what does that look like going forward? I think that's going to be kind of the next evolution of the localized market going forward.
You're up.
Okay. Well, I think there's a combination of things. First off, I think we've surprised people today with what we've been able to accomplish. And, you know, the Dallas Stars' reach has increased 5x to 10, depending on the game. Rantanen's debut we had over 250,000 people watching that game specifically, and I don't think a lot of, I would say, external parties thought we could make that happen with such a short time to bring something to market. Again, we were under the gun as well. 3 months we had an app in market, and we were able to really structure something uniquely in the marketplace with the Stars, and that I think what's going to happen on the local side is you need what we feel and what we're trying to accomplish. You need a Switzerland here, right? Because you need critical mass with all clubs coming together from a local standpoint. The DSPs and the advertisers are not going to see the reach that they want, specifically with a one app kind of ecosystem, right? They're so used to scale at a rapid rate with YouTube and all the social platforms in the market. They have won the attention war opposed to the streaming wars. And that's incredibly important that we work together from a local side. So the clubs are generating more revenue, which I think they can even beyond what they were from the old traditional RSN model, if they work together. And I think there's a huge opportunity there that's going to transition as we bring more clubs online. And then the second thing, I feel that players and athletes are the ones that we need to celebrate in a unique way. They're the new influencers of the future. There's a pendulum swing going on with influencers online. They have gravitated towards building great content, using great suites of tools to do so. And there's a subset of athletes out there that are coming online in a big way, and I think they're going to get a lot of attention. So sports as just a general platform, you have to have a broad range of sports to help create more fans for a sport, right? YouTubers and content creators, Dude Perfect, they do this all the time. We work with them. They help us market our Victory Plus. They're a partner of ours. And the clubs that are associated with Victory Plus, they do cross-promotional marketing online because they know the power it is that they have an audience, and they can again build audiences together as a partnership. And we're taking that kind of thought process with Victory Plus and our clubs associated to the ecosystem. The Texas Rangers came to us because we live here, so that's important. I'm Canadian. I'm a taxpayer here in Texas. Woohoo! And we already had half a million downloads of the app, and it was a huge accomplishment. And the Texas Rangers knew that they would have to spend X amount of dollars marketing to do the same thing, and they got an incredible uplift in users based on that. So seeing that and having the inbound now with other content, and we're announcing a bunch more here shortly, is going to bring some significant growth for us.
Ronnie?
I wish we had more time to hear about the cadoodle.
I know.
But I just got to say, so I've gotten to know Neil over the last couple of years, and hearing the evolution, the origins of this company, and how it's evolved to what it is today. It's really incredible. Got a sneak peek under the hood before it went to market. Sharp product. Yep. It was great. So very cool to watch what you guys are doing. I would say for me, step one was reach. Increasing our reach. Didn't solve that, but we reversed the trend and started going in the right direction. Step two is how to turn that reach into revenue, right? And so that's, I think, harder than step one. So in terms of how I'm looking to do that moving forward, maybe it wouldn't surprise people in here because we've started to see Amazon do it, but just hyper personalization of ads is something that's going to be a top priority for me, to see our CPMs really multiply if we ever want to, make a significant dent in this revenue. So that, long way to go to get there. Hopefully we can take some incremental steps this year, but that's my vision, is turning this into very material revenue.
Yeah, and I think that's the goal for everyone. I think, with the digital product, you can get really creative, but you need that reach first. I think that all of you allude to. Have two questions from the audience here, and we'll dive into these. First one is for Spencer, and it's Mr. Markby is how you're being addressed here. I like that. Any insight into esports industry streaming opportunities?
We haven't really dabbled too much into the esports side of it. I know it's a huge market, and it's one that really does captivate particularly the younger audience. So Twitch has kind of monopolized that, I would say, in the sense that it's kind of like when you hear, what are you going to go look something up on the internet? It's like, well, I'm going to go Google something. It's like everyone just goes to Twitch. So I think they've kind of already run away with that market in a way. But it's definitely something that should be addressed. It's just not something that we have looked at too deeply.
Anything to add on your end there?
I think, the dudes game all the time. They have, their own. They have their own streaming service, and we see a real high engagement on that type of content. And we have a gaming section in Cadoodle TV for safety. Younger audiences are watching gaming, and it's one of our more popular genres of content within Cadoodle specifically. With Victory, I think there's going to be, in years to come, more of a tie-in virtually with games, and I think there'll be a crossover into sports, live sports, and gaming, which again, we've put time and energy into, even, again, we're in the kids space as well, Roadblocks specifically, and have tested some interesting animated, real-time animated content to be housed in that infrastructure. So I think esports and gaming are definitely going to merge into live in a way that is unique, for sure. Yeah.
One final question. I'll let any of you take this one because it's something that causes a lot of us in this space to have gray hair. How do you foresee teams dealing with the piracy of streams and trying to convince those consumers to pay to watch through official platforms rather than the free pirated one? Every time we put a Facebook post up at FC Dallas for a tune-in, we have in the comments section on Facebook, watch it for free here, 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 here. They're like 17 people trying to get us to watch the game for free in the comments section. It's a real issue that you just don't think about when you're going into this at the surface. One of you want to tackle this one?
I think we can have a whole nother panel on this.
We could go all day here on this.
So with piracy, we've, again, met where the fans are. We're kind of, if you can't beat them, join them scenario. The reason why we are free is because we're looking for the fringe fan. Hockey is very different in Texas. In Canada, it's very different, right? I'm Canadian, so hockey is life. And here, we want to grow the audience, and those fringe fans if they haven't experienced hockey yet, if they will find it online through a clip on social, or they'll pirate it themselves if they want to find it for free. They're not going to pay out of the gate. And so our solution is to build as wide of an audience as possible, and then build a viewing experience that's premium over time, right? and then that way they become, a super fan for different reasons, and otherwise, if you're not free, piracy will continue to happen. And I said earlier in the conversation, brands, clubs don't see the revenues from those websites, and they don't want their brands around those brands that are marketing within those ecosystems. It's pretty, again, it's the same thing of brand safety. It's a very important part of our story.
It's an ugly space, but go ahead, Spencer.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that we think about on a daily basis. Like, we have robust anti-piracy for all of our clients, but it's something that's just constantly evolving. The technology changes on a daily basis, it seems like. And so whether it's through VPN blocking or just content delivery from the source, it's never ending. It's a constant battle. Ronnie, we've obviously talked about this. It's just constantly getting better on our own side, and we want to ensure that our partners like the Mavs are safe, their content is safe, and it's not getting pirated out. You can't stop everything, but as long as you keep it to the bare minimum, I think that's largely a win, I would say.
We did not ask you about Luca, Ronnie. Because we all love you. This was such a thoughtful, wonderful, insightful... Just kind of slid that one in there. No, seriously, this was such a thoughtful, insightful conversation. I mean, it's obvious. Each of you are working in this space, thinking about this space, staying awake at night, thinking about this space because it is so dynamic. The minute you put something out there, you have to change, you have to iterate, you have to constantly evolve to engage the consumer, drive revenue, hit that reach so you can accomplish all of those things. And I just think each of your insight here has been just wonderful, and I know we just scratched the surface, but hopefully you'll be available for questions if anybody wants to get questions outside in the hallway, because we do want to stay on time here. So gentlemen, Ronnie, Neil, Spencer, thank you so much. Wonderful conversation.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Appreciate your time.